And that's another thing, is someone who's unfamiliar with the Predator. This thing is awesome. So I am completely unfamiliar with the Predator from the Prey franchise. The most I know is that he showed up, or it showed up, in a Mortal Kombat game one time. So I saw that that was pretty cool. And so I really was not expecting to check this movie out, but it got really good reviews. So I figured I'll give it a watch. Happy to say I am pleasantly surprised, because this movie is awesome. There is a lot to like here about why the Prey movie works so well, but the main thing that I took away from watching this film was that it works regardless of whether or not there is an alien from outer space or a predator from outer space popping down on Earth to cause havoc. Even if this was a film just about two different entities fighting each other, or two different people fighting each other, it works. One of the best things about this film is that it is such a simple, self-contained story. Also important that this movie takes place in the 1700s, because technology has not come very far at that point. And so for a creature like the Predator to come down to planet Earth during the 1700s with way more advanced technology, and that's another thing, is someone who's unfamiliar with the Predator, this thing is awesome. I mean, this thing has technology that I have never seen before. I thought the way that they portrayed a lot of its abilities was really, really cool, just creating this being that seemingly had the advantage every single time it came into contact with anybody. On that note, when you're doing a movie about the Predator, I will say I definitely would assume that that is where a lot of the budget went. And it seems like that's where a lot of the budget went, which is really good to see. They did a fantastic job with the Predator in this movie. Also worth noting, there's a really good mix of CGI Predator, when there's like a lot of chaotic action happening, and practical Predator, somebody clearly in a suit, and both of them look really good. There's a point towards the beginning of this movie where, you know, the CGI is like a little iffy, but as things go on, it just looks fantastic. And as someone who's a huge fan of practical effects, I love that the Predator was somewhat practically done in a lot of scenes in this film. Now, when the film starts out, it's a really simple concept of an otherworldly creature coming down to Earth and hunting things. First it hunts animal, then it starts to hunt people, and they have to try to survive. But as the story goes on, this is not just a film about one thing hunting another and the other one trying to survive. This is a film about what happens when the Predator becomes the prey. And I think that is where things get really interesting. I'll also say that this film is really well paced. It's super early on that they show the Predator. It's very early on that they show sort of what the Predator is capable of. And if you're unfamiliar with this creature like I am, I really appreciate stuff like that. I think the film also builds up towards some phenomenal ending action sequences. I would say at least the last 45 minutes of this movie is just non-stop fantastic action. There are some really, really well shot action sequences in this film. The CGI is really well done. The stunts are really well done. And there is a lot to like about how the action is handled in a movie like this. I think one of my favorite aspects of this film is that the Predator has a massive advantage from the very beginning of the movie when it first shows up. But as the film starts to go on, you realize that maybe this Predator does not have the one advantage it needs. It is in a foreign land, and the people who are from that land originally perhaps have a bigger advantage than they first thought. There is a lot to like about a film like this, and while I don't know too much about the Predator itself, I do know that the Predator franchise has had sort of a rocky go of it in terms of the films. I know that a lot of them are sort of in that cult classic tier, but I think that Prey, at least being my first experience seeing the Predator on screen, this is a film that even people who are not familiar with this franchise can really get into. If you like action movies, if you like just well-made, well-shot films with fantastic sequences and really, really well done acting and practical and visual effects, this is a movie that is absolutely worth checking out. And I'll say, while it doesn't necessarily go in the direction I thought it might, I like that. I like when a film goes around your expectations, and it lets you continue to get sucked into the story. This is a movie that is absolutely worth checking out. It's brand new on Hulu. Go see it. I loved it. I think you will too. Thanks for watching.